I'm Lieutenant Colonel Rob Marshall. I'm a 2001 graduate, and I'm the director of the Adventure and Experiential-Based Learning program that we started at the CCLD, which is the Center for Character and Leadership Development. Most graduates have really fond memories of the SEER program. We lost that a couple years ago, and the Academy is working hard to bring that back, but in the meantime, it was identified that there was a gap in the third class cadet summer training period. And so that's when the call went out and said, could anyone maybe find a way to fill this? And that's when I kind of raised my hand and said, hey, I think we could create this ABLE program to support our current summer training and fill that gap. And so far it appears to be doing that. During my years as a traditional reservist, I was working with some nonprofits and organizations like REI and starting to piece together some pretty interesting data about the power of adventure and experiential-based learning in nature and how it builds resiliency, stress inoculation, leadership skills, team building. With our 18,000 acres and our kind of rugged Colorado land, that this is the perfect fit for our academy and our cadets. The ultimate goal of this ABLE program is to enhance the third class cadets' interpersonal leadership and their team building skills. We all know that when you deploy as a young officer, you don't necessarily get to pick the people you deploy with. You may have never met them before. So how can we put you into a dynamic, potentially stressful, potentially physically and mentally demanding situation with people that you're not familiar with maybe some poorly defined data sets? And how do you succeed? So the way ABLE runs is it starts off in an academic setting. We do some briefings, and the cadets break into smaller classroom settings and they practice hands-on application in academic setting. Then they come down to the ropes course, and in this ropes course you see back here, it's been around for a little over 20 years, and I consider it an experimentation, a laboratory area for leadership concepts. So once they experiment with that in their teams, then they have their final application phase, and that's the cool part. That's a 30-hour team challenge where they have to go around the entire academy, from basically the northern fence line all the way down to the southern fence line, and they're racing against 19 other teams. The cadets all start here. The night before, we give them a list of 120 waypoints. We give them not the greatest GPS, and we give them a rough map that's actually blank. We start them off with minimal resources. They have one MRE for the entire 30-hour race. That's like 20 hours of movement. It's enough to make sure they're safely fed, but not enough to be comfortable. So if they do the bare minimum and get to the minimum checkpoints, they don't get extra resources. But the further they go away from the minimum course, the point value increases significantly. They go a little bit further, there's actually some minor food, some snacks that they can get by going through a physical or mental challenge. And if they go to like the most northern or southern point or eastern point of USAFA, the first two teams at each of those points get hot food delivered from off base to them. The students that do the most or take on the most risk get the most reward. You can still finish the 30-hour challenge just by doing the minimum, because we all know that, let's say your team is in total conflict, and even with all of your practice, you guys are still butting heads, then all you need to do is get the mission done, and the mission is return here successfully and safely. The adventure race was designed to be somewhat overwhelming, just like deployment or combat operations. In my combat experience, I find there's never the right amount of information. There's either too little or there's far too much, and it can overwhelm you. We purposely created the adventure race to have minimal rules, mostly based around safety, and then we gave them 120 waypoints, which is just kind of overwhelming to build a strategy around that. I always want to see, what are the cadets going to bring or do that I wasn't expecting? And that's how we encourage innovation. As long as it's in the spirit of the game, I want them to take advantage of the rules. I want them to hack my game because I want them to have that innovative mindset of safety rules and rules of engagement, they're not to be broken. But sometimes the rules of a game or the rules of the way we see combat in this era may not be the best way to get something done. Maybe there's a way to hack it and innovate. This adventure-based learning program, we created it to be very streamlined. We wanted to show that we could create a new, innovative, but highly impactful summer program for minimum dollars with minimum people. And it's more of a test bed, and we expect it to grow and maybe integrate into some of the combat skills. Hopefully with it all ending though with SEER, level C SEER coming back to USAFA.
I feel like it's a great addition to cadet experience. Going on a 30-hour hike with some of your best friends develops leadership and team skills. It's pretty cool.
I honestly think it's a good idea for cadets to go out and on their own and experience the outdoors and like make their own decisions and judge that risk management associated with the able. So I thought it was a good program.
So I think that was the toughest part, was just getting to know each other well enough that there was no animosity, and we were as efficient as possible, which really worked out. We worked really well as a team, and I've been talking to other teams, and it seems like that's the way it's been for everyone.
When the cadets go through and say, hey, that wasn't easy, in fact at times it was kind of miserable, but I turned to my classmates and I found a way to overcome it, I want them to come out of this summer program going, I'm proud to be a cadet, I want to stay here at the Academy, and I know that if I turn to my classmates, I can overcome anything. If that is what the overall feedback says, then I would consider this a massive success, and that it's one that we can then springboard on and take best practices from this summer and make the cadet experience better next year.